Dreamers, it's Kayla King, and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new, welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing another writing vlog with you, and while I haven't made as much progress in this past week as I was hoping to make, I think the biggest thing is that I haven't given up and I have no plans to do so in the future. And since I have no real deadlines other than my own, for now I'm enjoying all of the words I've written and thinning this book down to the best version possible before I re-enter the query trenches this year. Hello, it is about 10:47 on Wednesday evening, and I really don't have any high aspirations for the rest of this night in terms of making much progress on my manuscript. I did spend this evening watching episode 5 in season 2 of Euphoria, and if you've watched it, then you know it was a very intense episode. I was actually hoping that those anxious feelings might translate well into the anxious chapter that I was working on. My main character is put in a very stressful situation, and I thought this might be a nice way to dive into that chapter. But honestly, there was a lot to unpack in this episode, and it was very stressful to watch. So I had a great conversation with my best friend from New York and also some of my local friends via text message, really dissecting the cinematography, the character arcs, and all of the choices that are being made in season 2. And I don't want to forget how important it is to refill your creative well and to really remember why storytelling is important and why we love stories. And for me, that was watching Euphoria tonight. Now, to help beat the February blues and to really prioritize my self-care, I did pick up a new deck of tarot cards from Target, and it is the Nightmare Before Christmas tarot deck, and these are absolutely gorgeous. I did pull 3 cards last night. I did a past, present, and future spread, and I did the same thing this afternoon, but I thought it would be really fun to use this to prompt a mini writing session that I'll be doing in my Dreamer journal. If you've been following along, you'll know I take this just about everywhere, and it's featured in almost every one of my writing sessions, so I'll be brainstorming and journaling a little bit in here after I pull some cards. I think I'm going to do the same 3-card spread, past, present, future, and maybe have it directly impact my character and see where the cards take me. To help aid my creativity, I did bring down my cherry quartz worry stone. I absolutely love this. It is such a nice tether to keep, especially on anxious days and anxious nights, to really have something tangible to hold. I find this really helps when I'm brainstorming and working through different ideas before putting them on the page. And in an effort to spend less time on my phone and less time looking at my computer screen right before bed, I am going to be reading after my writing session, and for that I have pulled a brand new collection of poetry that I just purchased yesterday. It's very tiny, and the title is I Hope This Finds You Well, Poems by Kate Baer. She is the author, apparently, of the #1 New York Times best-selling book, What Kind of Woman? I've never heard of it. I do love poetry, and I'm really excited to dive into this just based on some of the titles of her poems. So I'll let you know my thoughts once I'm done. new tarot deck, I was really excited to try to implement this into my editing process. So I did pull 4 cards to kind of work as a guide through this chapter. So the first that I pulled was for the beginning, and I got the Temperance card. And then for the second card, I pulled for the midpoint, and I got the Devil. The third was for the middle, and I got the 5 of Potions, and then the 4th card was for the end of that chapter, and I did get the 4 of Candles. And then I pulled a few more for my characters. So for character 1, I got 9 of Potions. And then for character 2, 2 cards actually wanted to pop out, so I got 7 of Presents and Ace of Presents. And then for character 3, I got 7 of Needles. And for character 4, I got 5 of Potions. And then for character 5, I did get the Strength card. And it was interesting to see how close all of these actually were to where I knew my characters needed to be in the chapter. But using the guidebook, it did allow me to dig in a little bit deeper to where all of them were emotionally within the chapter. And I think it's going to help me further build out where I need to go in the rest of the line edits for chapter 12. Hello, it is Thursday afternoon, it's almost 2 o'clock, and I've been on my lunch break for a little bit now, and I'm just heading downstairs to get some lunch. I'm going to be taking my trusted Dreamer journal with me downstairs to input some of the notes that I took last night and work to maybe finish chapter 12 or at least get close to it before the end of my lunch break today. Let's see how much progress we can make. My writing session for this afternoon. My lunch break is over, so I do have to go back upstairs to my day job, but I was able to add 120 new words to this chapter, which is great because this ended up being an excerpt from the original chapter 11, and if you've been following along, you know I kind of dismantled and organized the first 4 chapters in section 2 of my WIP. So that was chapter 11, 12, 13, and 14. I'm really happy with the progress I made, and I can't wait to dive back in. Hello, it is a little after 10 on Saturday morning, and I'm getting ready to head to Craft Coffee House to have an in-cafe writing session. I haven't had one of these in so long, and I'm so excited to get out of the house, get a change of scenery, and hopefully finish chapter 12 today, maybe even start chapter 13. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because I do tend to set lofty goals, but if I could finish chapter 12, that would be huge. Since the end of December, anytime I've been in my car, I have listened to the Encanto soundtrack. I'm absolutely obsessed, but as I'm going to the Billie Eilish concert tonight, I figured I should probably listen to some of her music, so I think I'm just going to put it on shuffle and see where the playlist takes me as I head over to the coffee shop. So, change of plans, Craft Coffee House was way too busy this morning, so I'm actually going to go to Starbucks instead. All right, I have one more place we can try, and then after that, I'll be struck out and I'll have to go home to write. This Starbucks does not offer indoor seating, and it is actually the nicest Starbucks we have in the area. So I'm gonna head to Panera next, and hopefully I can get a table and actually get some writing done. My friends, this day has taken a turn. I decided I didn't really want Panera, but for the first time the entire week, the plaza where Crumble Cookies is located only had 2 people in line, so I figured I would pop in there and try some of the flavors for this week. But of course, almost every flavor was sold out except for the vanilla sugar. So I did get one of the vanilla sugar cookies, and yes, I have already taken a bite. It's delicious, and really this made my day. just realized I never signed off earlier today during my writing session. I was able to get a little bit done, but unfortunately I didn't finish chapter 12 before I had to get ready for the Billie Eilish concert. It was great, so hopefully tomorrow I'll get through chapter 12 and hopefully start chapter 13. It is a little after 10 on Sunday morning, and I'm planning on finally finishing chapter 12 today. Energetically and creatively, I do feel like I've been refreshed after the concert last night. So many of Billie Eilish's songs are on the playlist for my WIP, so it was really like seeing my world come to life, and I feel more excited than ever to dive back into this chapter. At this point in time, I'm sure it goes without saying, but I do have my Felix Gray blue light blocking glasses, which I'll be wearing for today's writing session. I also have my Dreamer journal right here, which has some of the notes that I took earlier this week about chapter 12. So in case I get stuck, I do have everything I need right here. And no morning would be complete without a cup of coffee. I have one right here. Let's dive right in and see how much progress we can make today. Hello, I'm just getting ready to take my lunch break on Monday, and if you're watching this writing vlog, you're probably wondering why I'm including a clip from Monday, but I did realize that I never actually officially closed out the vlog from yesterday, and there's a couple of reasons why, and I really wanted to chat about it with all of you. Now, this is a little bit difficult to talk about, and I have tried to be as fully transparent as possible during all of these writing vlogs, during my planning videos, everything else. I do think talking about struggles, whether they be related to everyday life or writing, in an honest and authentic way can only benefit the rest of the community. And I think this will really serve as a nice reminder years from now when I'm looking back, if I'm having a hard day, to remember that I was able to get through it. So what do I mean by all of this? I've talked briefly in the past about my struggles with anxiety and perfectionism. And I've also talked about how February is always my most difficult month year after year. I was really hoping to avoid what I call the February blues, but alas, they kind of crept up on me. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I like to treat myself like I'm superhuman and tackle everything and not give myself the time or space to take breaks, to take deep breaths, and to really live in the moment. And that's not to say that I don't do that every day. You will have noticed that I had a great time at the Billie Eilish concert with my mom and sister, and I really took that evening to sit in the moment, to enjoy, to soak up as much creative energy as I could, and to really just love the people I was with and love the music I was hearing. And those moments are so important, but there are other moments throughout the day where I find myself stressed or overwhelmed or anxious or in the middle of a panic attack where it all just feels like too much. And the thing about anxiety is that you can tell yourself it'll pass, you're fine, everything will be okay. But when you're in it, it's really hard to see through what I like to call the fog. So even today, I do find myself a little bit lower in energy than I typically would be. And I'm really grappling with trying to get back to that better place. And it's been a struggle. So much of that does have to do with some outside stressors and experiences that I'm also working with and processing to really make sure that I have the time and space to devote to my creative work when I'm sitting down after the day job and I want to make progress on my novel and I want to finish this work in progress, and there's so many things I want to do and not enough time or energy in my day. And I know I push myself too much, and maybe to the outside world that looks like determination and hard work and the hustle and grind that everybody is always talking about on social media, but to me that looks like a slip in my mental health. One thing I did want to talk about before I launch into some other things, kind of my signs for knowing that things aren't right and that I'm feeling a little bit lower. And I'm not sure if it's true for anybody else watching, but I do sometimes have days where small things will happen and it fully sets me over the edge in a way that it shouldn't. And I did just want to talk about something that happened on Tuesday. I didn't record my reaction then because I was far too emotional and really actually upset about the experience, but I did just want to share it here to be completely transparent and honest about what it's like to be a writer, to be working a day job, to be creative and putting so much energy into building a brand and honestly completing a novel. So on Tuesday, I had posted a writing vlog and I was really excited to be sharing that graphic and, was on Instagram looking at other social media posts and lifting up those authors that I follow and celebrating their journeys as well. And I did come across an author's post in which she was sharing a blurb from her novel, and it looked too familiar. So I pulled up the post that I remembered creating by hand in Canva in August of 2021, in which I was sharing a blurb that somebody had so kindly written about my micro collection of poetry called These Are the Women We Write About. And I did a side-by-side with this other author's post that they had shared on social media, and very quickly realized that they actually stole my design. They changed the colors and they posted routinely the same design again and again. And I was so upset and hurt because this author never once reached out to me to ask if they could use this design. They never credited me online with creating this, and I care so much about my brand and the graphics that I am creating for Instagram and Twitter and all of the rest of the social medias to make sure that it's consistent with my vision and my view of the world and my writing. And honestly, it was a low point. It really struck me, and I'm still grappling with that. I know in this day and age of the internet, people can really take whatever they want, and with Canva, it makes it so easy to create gorgeous designs using their templates. And certainly, if I was using a template and I saw somebody using a similar design, I would think nothing of it. It's a template that's there for people to use, but I knew that this design was something that I had created by hand, and I could even see in the side-by-side that certain sections were in the exact same placement that I had put them. So if this person was creating their own and using those same specific elements, it would be really tough to recreate and get them in the exact same position. So why do I bring this up? I think it's just a reminder that when you're feeling low to begin with, the tiniest things can make us feel worse. And really, this is just me reaching out to say, be kind to your fellow writers and those creators who are designing things that you love. Help celebrate them. Shout their skills from the rooftops. And if you want to use something similar, please reach out to them and ask first, just because I know how much work goes into creating these kinds of graphics. But I suppose really why I wanted to talk about this is to show that as writers and as humans, we have our struggles. No day is perfect, but I think there's something really important in the act of trying, and I'm trying really hard every day to get back to my better self, and I don't know what that's going to mean for my writing this week. It's really interesting because when I started working on this novel so many years ago, I was already enduring struggles with mental health, and I didn't really know what to call it. I think the first time I noticed that my brain worked a little bit differently than everybody else's was reading The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. And I kind of just put that off to being shy and bookish. Then my last semester of graduate school, when I was switching up how I was going to tackle the narrative of my work in progress, the book that I'm still working on today, I realized that I wanted to bring in some mental health struggles with my character as she navigates living in a world where dreaming is a disease and starts to have her own dreams. It very much feels like something is going wrong inside of her own head. And maybe even then I felt connected to this, but it really wasn't until I read the books Wild Awake by Hilary T. Smith and The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath that I realized I struggled with mental health. And I will say I have tried therapy in the past and I absolutely love therapy. I think there's so much benefit to it. I've tried meditation, again, something I love. I love journaling, but there are some days when those processes that once worked just don't work and life is overwhelming and it's tough, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. But what I find so interesting is that through originally working on this book, I was able to write through some of these darker points in my life and use my novel as a means of catharsis, and the writing was always there. And then in 2020, I actually used the opportunity of working from home and isolation to really work on myself. And when I speak about a better place, I'm referencing the point that I was able to get to at the end of 2020, moving into 2021. And that's how I know that there is a light amidst this darkness and that the fog will lift and I will get back to what I consider my best and better self. But it's so interesting because I've been struggling so much with line edits, especially in chapter 12, and I always feared getting better and getting healthy because I thought it would affect my writing. I thought I wouldn't be able to write if I wasn't mentally ill, if that makes sense. And now that I'm back to a darker point with my mental health, I'm struggling creatively and I'm struggling to finish those line edits. And it's really scary and it's really hard to be in this position knowing that I so desperately want to finish this book and I want to put in the time and effort to make this the best book that it can be, because I really do feel like it can help somebody else someday, if not just myself being able to put everything down on the page. But it's really hard. I know right now I'm not very pleasant to be around. I'm lacking energy and I'm not the bright, vivacious person that I really love to be. So hopefully as we move into this next week, things will get a little bit easier and I'll be able to return to the page. And I am so very lucky that I have friends and family and a support system that's really here to help me. But I do think often articulating what is going wrong inside my mind, it's not easy because it doesn't make sense to everybody. And I think that's why I put it on the page in the first place, because once I got it down in writing, it made sense to me. But I guess we've reached a point where this is long and rambly, and I'm not sure it actually has anything to do with writing. And hopefully I'll be coming back to you in this week to come with a new perspective and some better energy, refueling me to get back to the page in the book that I so love. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, no matter where the day takes you, dream big.